Homeostasis. In first lecture yesterday, we have discussed that how all the systems contributes in homeostasis. Homeostasis actually it is the ability of body to maintain its internal environment constant or same. What it's mean that if any change occur in external environment and there is a risk by this change to change or to affect the internal environment, our body tries to constant its internal environment for avoiding the effect. The other effect homeostasis in human body. Negative feedback is very important because all the mechanism like, for example, by homeostasis our body maintain its blood pressure, which is an important factor for body. Normal BP is 120 by 80 mm of Hg. If this blood pressure is increases, it is called hypertension. If this BP is decreases, it is called hypotension. Both affects the body severely. The second thing which is important and the body tries to fix it is glucose level. Normal glucose level, which is called random blood sugar, is from 110 to 170 normally, and fasting blood pressure, the blood sugar is from 70 to 110. The fasting मतलब है जेकरा ता खुराक नहीं करे, random मतलब है जेकरा ता खुराक के वो बिया पल शुगर गोरे वो लेकर जता खुराक को केनो बिया शुगर लेवल दन सेवाई पागा टाइम की ठीक दा. That was seasonary. The next thing is thermoregulation. Thermoregulation mean the maintenance of body temperature. So normal temperature of body is 37 degrees centigrade. If there is any fluctuations occur in temperature, for example, if the temperature is increases, we called it fever, increased temperature. Like this, there are many other mechanisms which also needed to regulate. For example, cholesterol level. HB level, pH of blood, pH of stomach, etc. So many mechanisms are present in body which are needed to be fixed, to be constant for avoiding the body to be affected. That was seasonally. In contrast to negative feedback, positive feedback is very less in our body, and this is specific and sometimes it takes place. What is positive feedback? If a mechanism is increases in our body or a level of sugar or anything else increases and the body try to increase this further, this mechanism is called positive. If some hormones, some mechanisms are decreasing in our body and our body tries to increase it, or increasing and our body tries to decrease these mechanisms or hormones or enzymes, right? So this is called negative feedback. First negative feedback. Negative چې اوسې سیوا کیږي ته کمې د نیگیټیو فیډبیک دی، که اوسې سیوا کیږي ته نورم سیوا کې دا موږ سره پازیټیو فیډبیک دی. ठीक है. हाँ. Now we will discuss negative feedback, and after that we will go for positive feedback. For negative feedback, we take examples of blood glucose level. First of all, I have already told that what are the normal values. Randomly it is from 110 to 170, and in fasting condition is from 70 to 110. If sugar is increases from 70, it is called hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia, which is a very dangerous condition, I think, which is called diabetes mellitus. If sugar level increases, the condition occurs in body called hyperglycemia. If sugar level decreases from 70, it is called hypoglycemia. So, by negative feedback, our body tries to protect us from hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. Now understand? Body. So how these mechanisms occur in body? How this negative feedback is responsible to maintain this glucose level in our body? For example, we have digestive system. We have digestive system, and for example, we eat carbohydrate rich foods. Carbohydrate rich food. For example, we have bread. Bread is rich in carbohydrates. Bread. For example, rice, fruits, tea, etc. We are eating or we are drinking. It will goes to stomach, and stomach, the glucose will be absorbed to blood. For example, this is blood. Glucose will be absorbed to blood. We have already discussed this story that this glucose will be goes to extracellular fluids into blood, and from here it will goes to extracellular fluids and then to cells for metabolism. So if these all glucose comes here to blood, this is blood, the blood sugar level will be high in this case, and this high glucose level is stimulus. What is stimulus? Any change which is detected by our five senses is called stimulus. It's a threshold. It may be temperature, may be sugar, may be acids, may be alkalides, right? So this high glucose level activates neurons, these receptors. Do you believe in our body, in every side, neurons are present and take signals? Take the signal from one side and transfer it to central nervous system, spinal cord and brain. So this high glucose level is detected by neurons, and it takes these signals and where it go? To central nervous system. For example, this is central nervous system. These signals goes to special structures in brain. They may be hypothalamus, maybe thalamus, the center which is responsible for controlling that activity. For example, cuff center, for example, respiratory center, for example, cardiac centers. So these signals detected by brain through this neuron, and this neuron is called efferent neuron. Efferent neuron, or this is called sensory neuron. Sensory neuron. From here, the brain gives signals to a special gland which is called pancreas. Pancreas. In pancreas, there are two specific cells. One is called alpha cell, alpha, and the second one is beta. Beta. This blood is also going to pancreas. Do you know? Because all our body structures gets blood, and this glucose is also in this blood. Right? मतलब मेरा रे कना that whole blood को body की गर्जी कना और दल तना पे glucose से वाशो इन पटोल body के glucose से वादे और blood के सही ना. So these glucose also gives signals to pancreas directly to glut receptors. There are some receptors which are called glut receptors. These receptors are called glut receptor. We will discuss these glut receptors in biochemistry: glut1, glut2, glut3, glut4. There are special glut receptors. Glut mean glucose transporter. Mean glucose transporters. Glucose transporters. This glucose came here and binds to these receptors. Also, brain by efferent neurons give signals to pancreas. These are efferent are motor neurons. Efferent neurons. In response to these signals, what we'll be doing here, that this neuron tell the brain that there is a high glucose level in our blood. Please tell to pancreas to produce insulin for producing glycogen and lowering down the glucose level in blood. So by this response, the beta cells and alpha cells are responsible for these hormones, glucagon and insulin. So pancreas produces insulin. What is the role of insulin? Now listen to me. These insulins goes to blood. Again, for example, this is blood, and now tell, what is this? These are body tissues, body cells, extracellular and intracellular fluids. This is extracellular fluids. Extracellular fluids, and these are intracellular fluids. And I already told that glucose or any nutrients or any oxygen will first goes to extracellular fluids. So if glucose level is high here in blood, and our bodies tries to lower down this glucose level, if this glucose goes to extracellular fluids, the glucose level will be decreases in plasma, in blood, and this is the target of insulin. So here are some receptors. Here are some receptors or some channels. These are also called glut receptors, glucose transporters. This insulin also added to blood and comes here and tells these glut receptors that now open yourself, because glucose level is high in blood and these channels become open. The structure of this channel is like this. These channels, they have a protein called inhibin, like this. What insulin do? Insulin modify these structures, and now this channel is open, and when this channel opens, the glucose goes to extracellular fluids and cells. So for example, if we have here 10 glucose, for example, if there are 10 glucose, from 10 out of 10, 6 glucose goes to extracellular and from extracellular to cell. So it become 10 minus 6. The remaining is 4. So the glucose level is decreases in blood. So the glucose level lowers in, decreases in plasma. This is called negative feedback. For example, this glucose goes to these cells. For example, here glucose, and in last the glucose level become downs in plasma, and this is negative feedback. In other, if you are not taking these carbohydrate rich foods, if there is one point to be remember, that if the glucose level is high after this, then the glucose goes to liver and converts to glycogen. For example, we have liver, liver. The extra glucose binds to each other like this, and it form glycogen, and glycogen is the stored form of glucose. If due to any condition, the glucose level become downs in blood, if this is blood, and due to some reason we are caused by hypoglycemia, so what will be the feedback in body to maintain this, to fix this hypoglycemia to normal condition? For example, if we have glucose, low glucose in blood, this is also the stimulus, and we have pancreas also. We have pancreas. This low glucose detected by neurons and give signals to brain. Brains give signals to pancreas, and pancreas produces glucagon. Glucagon is responsible for increasing the sugar level in body. For example, if we have a BSS fasting blood sugar level is 50, for example, if we have 50, the body tries to fix it to 70 or to 100 by this mechanism. For example, we have glucagon produces by pancreas. These glucagons come to liver, and there are some special receptors for glucagon, they attach to that receptor. For example, And these are the signals. It gives signals. There is a hide mechanism behind this process. There are some second messenger produces in, we will discuss in liver. But by activations of these receptors, this glycogen converts into glucose again, and from here it will goes to blood. For example, this is blood supply to liver. The glucose produced by glycogen is added to blood, and so if there is 2 glucose, now there are 4 glucose. So the glucose level is increases in blood by this process, and this is also negative feedback, because on this side this is for low glucose level, and on this side this is for high glucose level. And this whole mechanism is called negative feedback mechanism, because here the glucose level is high, the body tries to decrease the glucose level. Here the glucose level is low, so the body tries to increase the glucose level. This is opposite, so it's called negative feedback. Now the second example of thermoregulation. It is called thermoregulation. If the body temperature increases, body tries to decrease the temperature, and if the temperature is decreases, body tries to increase the temperature. And this is negative feedback mechanism. The second example, thermoregulation. Thermoregulation. Two conditions are there. When temperature increases and when temperature decreases, what will happen in body? Right? The normal body temperature is body temperature. This is important for your MCQs. Normal body temperature. Normal body temperature in Fahrenheit is 97 to 99 Fahrenheit, and in centigrade it is from 37 to 38 or 39 degree centigrade. This is the normal values, and this is dependent on external temperature. If external temperature increases, it will affect the body. If external temperature decreases, it will also affect the body, and the negative feedback will be active in both the conditions. نن سبا یخنی ده زموږ باډي دننه څه ټرای کوي چې زه دا اوس که بهر چې څنګه یخني ده دا په ماینس کې دا ټمپریچر دی بهر چې کم دی، نو که ستا دننه ټول ټمپریچر په ماینس کې شي، ټول انزایمز به ستا ورک لیس شي. ان کیس په ګرمۍ کې چې 42 41 43 داسې ټمپریچر 47 په 40 باندې دا خپل ورک کولی شي انزایمز، د 40 نه چې کله ټمپریچر سیوا کېږي بیا انزایمز ورک نشي کولی. نو که ان کیس د نیگیټیو فیډبیک زموږ په باډي کې ابسنټ وي، نو دا 47 ډیګري سنټیګریډ چې کله را رسېدو دا خلک به ټول مړه کېدو. انزایم نه خلک چې زخر وخوري خلک ولې مړه کېږي؟ دننه ټوټل انزایمټیک اکټیویټي ختمه شي. ټیک ده؟ نو دغه چل به بیا چې دی په دې کولډ ټمپریچر یا په دې هائی ټمپریچر کې مو صحیح ده. سو وین the external temperature increases, the body tries to maintain the internal temperature, and if the external temperature is decreases, also the body tries to maintain the internal temperature, and this mechanism is called negative feedback. For example, the thermoregulatory center is in hypothalamus. So we are taking the brain from front side. From front we will see the brain like this. This is pons, this medulla, this is spinal cord. If we are seeing the brain from front, it will look like this. Here, this is midbrain. This is midbrain, and above midbrain, we have a structure called hypothalamus. Here is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. Now, the temperature, increasing of temperature is detected by skin. Skin is responsible for the detection of temperature. If the temperature is cold, our skin detects the temperature. If the temperature is hot, our skin detects the temperature. Right? So, for example, we have skin here. This is for example skin, and the temperature is hot. For example, the temperature is hot. Hot mean if temperature is 40 degrees C, 45 degrees C, 42, but above 37 degrees centigrade. Above 37 degrees centigrade. This is stimulus for our skin. Our skin detects this temperature. Which receptors are responsible for thermoreceptors? Thermoreceptors detect this stimulus, thermo, and it activates the mechanoreceptors, or it activates neurons here. These neurons takes this high temperature signal from here and goes to central nervous system, spinal cord. From here, these signals are given to hypothalamus. Now, what are the signals? These efferent neurons telling hypothalamus that temperature outside is very hot. Fix the temperature of your internal body. If you are not doing, your body will be affected. So, this hypothalamus activates neurons. These are efferent neurons. The neurons coming to CNS are efferent neurons. The neurons leaving the central nervous systems are efferent neurons. So efferent neurons takes this heart signals from brain, and it activates 2 or 3 things here. The first, it will affect the blood. So this temperature is detected by mechanoreceptors or thermoreceptors. This heart temperature signals goes to central nervous system. From central nervous system, hypothalamus activates, and hypothalamus gives signals to blood vessels, sweat glands, and muscles. So if we have skin here again, for example, this is skin, and we have sweat glands here. For example, these are sweat glands. Sweat glands are responsible for removing water from body, evaporating water from body. First signals it gives to sweat glands that remove the water from body. So evaporation start here. Water evaporation from body, and when water is evaporating, heat is also evaporating. So the heat of the body or the temperature of body decreases. This is the first mechanism. The second one, capillary bed is present here or not? Present. For example, this is capillary bed to skin. If the blood flow to skin is increases, the temperature will be increases. If the blood flow is decreases, temperature will be decreases, because blood is warm. 37 degrees centigrade is the normal temperature of blood also. So it gives signals. Secondly, this hypothalamus gives signals to blood vessels for vasodilation. Here for opening of sweat glands, and here for vasodilation. So the blood vessels dilate. The dilation means that the diameter of the blood vessels increases. So the blood flow is decreases, and when blood flow decreases, the temperature of body also decreases. This is the second mechanism in heart temperature. The third one, this hypothalamus also gives signals to muscular system. For example, this is a typical muscle. If this muscle is shivering, if this working, contraction and relaxations take place in muscles, the metabolic rate will be high, and when metabolic rate is high, temperature will be produced, because in thermoreactions, the heat is increases. When there is breakdown of some molecule occur in body, the heat produced in body. So due to that heat production, the temperature of body also increases. During hot conditions, during high temperature, this hypothalamus gives signals to muscles for relaxation. So these muscles become relaxed, and shivering is stopped. Due to this, metabolic rate will be decreases, and when metabolic rate decreases, temperature of body will be decreases. So these three mechanisms working behind heart temperature. In other condition, if the temperature become high, for example, I have skin here. This is skin. In skin, this is external environment. In external environment, the temperature cold, mean temperature become decreases, like nowadays temperatures in minus degree centigrades, -1, -2. This cold temperature is also a stimulus for skin. The skin detects the cold temperature and gives signals to, for example, these are efferent neurons. Efferent neurons give signals to central nervous system. Central nervous system gives it to hypothalamus. Telling the hypothalamus that the temperature is too cold, too low, reduce temperature. Please fix the internal environment or internal temperature of body, otherwise the body will be affected by cold temperature. Enzymes will be dysfunctional. So the hypothalamus gives signals by efferent neurons again to blood vessels, to sweat glands. First, it gives signals to sweat glands. For example, I have skin. This is skin, and these are sweat glands. Hypothalamus tells the sweat glands for closing of sweat gland. So now water is not losing from body. If water is remaining in body, heat is not evaporating or not lost, so the temperature of body increases, right? This is just the opposite process of this, right? Secondly, it gives signals to blood vessels. For example, we have blood vessels here. This is blood vessel. It gives signals, hypothalamus gives signals to blood vessels for vasoconstriction. It is also opposite of this vasodilation. Here in high temperature, it gives signals for vasodilating the blood vessels, but in cold conditions, gives signals to blood vessels for vasoconstriction. And when the blood vessels constricted, the blood flow become increases. So for vasoconstriction means the diameter of blood vessels now decreases, is constricted like this. So the blood flow increases, and when blood flow increases, heat of body also increases. So it fixes this problem of cold temperature. Thirdly, it gives signals to muscles. For example, I have a typical muscle here. Muscle. It gives signals to muscles for shivering. By shivering, the metabolic rate of muscles increases, and when metabolic rate increases, heat production also increases, and so temperature of body increases. So these are all the mechanisms, all the processes behind negative feedback. सही था? दरिया पास बे positive feedback पॉयो हाँ यो 10 minutes जान fresh की हाँ topic थे positive feedback. So now we will discuss positive feedback. What is positive feedback? It is the mechanism by which the body increases the intensity of change. For positive feedback, mainly the activities follow negative feedback in body, but there are some specific activities, like if I have given the examples of first, for example, labor, delivery, and the second one is breast feeding, and third one is platelets aggregation, or it is also known as wounds healing. So we will take two or these three examples from positive feedback, and we'll discuss that what is positive feedback and how it works for homeostasis. So first of all, we are going to take the example of labor. This is new for you people. During delivery or during labor, the uterus, the cervix is contracted or it's dilated for easy delivery. So for example, if we have uterus here, for example, I have uterus this is cervix, and for example, this is baby head. During delivery, this cervix wants to constrict for easy delivery, so it constricting. These are the signals which are detected by a special neurons called efferent neurons. from here, and it takes these signals to central nervous system. For example, we have central nervous system here. Central nervous system. And we have hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is large as this nail. Hypothalamus the intihai or cortex is there, but it controls so many activities in body. Lot of important activities are controlling by hypothalamus. So these signals goes to hypothalamus, but now in addition we have pituitary gland. The one is anterior pituitary gland and the second one is posterior pituitary gland. Posterior pituitary gland. These signals are received by hypothalamus, and hypothalamus activates the pituitary gland. The posterior pituitary gland produces oxytocin. Posterior pituitary gland produces oxytocin. Oxytocin is called the cuddle hormone. These are the loving hormones, oxytocin, and these are responsible for contraction. Oxytocin goes in blood, it added to blood. For example, this is blood, and oxytocin goes here. Here are some receptors on uterus, oxytocin receptors. Oxytocin binds to these receptors, and due to this oxytocin action, the uterus starts contraction. Contraction. And when the uterus contracted, the cervix also contracted. It gives the more area for this delivery. So we want to continue this contraction. So this is positive because the uterus is already contracting. The cervix is already contracting, but by this oxytocin we increase the contraction for easy delivery. So this is called positive feedback. This is one example. The second example is platelets. For example, I have 3 or 4 blood vessels here. This is delivery. Is by positive feedback mechanism. The second example is platelets aggregation. What is the importance of platelets aggregation? Wounds healing. کوڅوک wounds healing نه پیژنای کنه کله زخم په وجود باندې راشي او دا سمیږي نو دې ته موږ wounds healing وایو. ٹھیک ده. For example, I have one blood vessel here and I have one blood vessel here. And I have one blood vessel here. For example, if due to some traumatic injury it ruptured, this blood vessel ruptured, the blood will rush out from this rupture area, but the platelets comes and forms a layer here. But these platelets are not enough to stop the blood flow. These platelets are not enough to stop the blood flow. It gives signals to بكيبل سرب دلتا لأن أخو سرب دلتا أخو ما سرنيش تاخو منازعة تبوس. So it gives signals to other platelets. For example, these are other platelets. The platelets aggregates here. And if these platelets are also not enough to stop this blood flow, it will signals to other platelets and to come here and stop this blood flow with blood loss. So this is aggregation, this is more aggregation, and this is more aggregation. So we are increasing the aggregation of platelets, and this is called positive feedback, right? And this is called wound healing. We will discuss this in detail in cardiovascular system, wound healing, blood flow, right? Saido? Aha. Now in other example I have already given to you, but the breastfeeding, or it is called lactation, called lactation. Lactation. In lactation, the signal is, for example, if we have breast, right, and in breast there are a lot of milk production glands. Milk productory glands. When the baby touches or sucks this breast, it gets the stimulus, and this stimulus activates the efferent neurons. These efferent neurons take these signals and goes to central nervous system. For example, this is central nervous system. In central nervous system, we have two important structure. The one is hypothalamus and the second one is pituitary gland. The anterior and posterior pituitary gland. This is anterior pituitary gland, and this is posterior pituitary gland, and this is hypothalamus. By getting this signal, these signals are received by hypothalamus. Hypothalamus activates pituitary gland. From anterior pituitary gland, prolactins are produced. From anterior pituitary gland, prolactins are produced, and from posterior pituitary gland, oxytocins are produced. Oxytocin, and these both hormones are added to blood. For example, this is blood supply. This is oxytocin and this is prolactin. Prolactin and oxytocin comes here. What is the role of prolactin? Prolactin acts on these milk glands and production of milk increases. Production of milk is increases due to prolactin. And oxytocin is responsible for contraction. So oxytocin contract these muscles. And when these muscles are contracted, the milk is ejected, right? So milks are produced by prolactin and ejected from breast is by oxytocin. So this is called positive feedback, and third example of positive feedback, right? This is all about homeostasis.